Karan was a small border town, but in September 1965, it became the doorway to a much larger danger. To understand Asal-Uttar, the listener first has to understand why this ground mattered at all. The battle was not fought there because two armored forces happened to meet in an anonymous field. It was fought there because roads, crossings, and operational ambition made the Karan sector valuable far beyond its size. From the Pakistani side of the border, the route through Karan pointed into Indian Punjab, toward Beaky Wind, Haraki, and the Beas-Sutlej water system. If that door opened wide enough, a local penetration might become a war-shaping rupture.
If you would like to move beyond the podcast, you can see my available books at militaryauthor.me. And at trackpads.com, you will find magazines and galleries with hundreds of thousands of photos and videos to explore.
The sector lay in the flat agricultural country of Punjab, close to the border opposite the Pakistani side, around Kasur. At first glance, this might sound like ideal country for tanks. Open land, relatively gentle relief, and no mountains to block movement. But battlefield geography is never that simple. The countryside was cut by irrigation channels, village tracks, embankments, drainage lines, trees, crops, and patches of soft or waterlogged ground. In September, with the monsoon season still close enough to matter, the soil and water conditions could be decisive. A tank force that looked fast and powerful on paper could find itself channeled onto roads, slowed in fields, or exposed when it tried to maneuver around prepared defenses.
For mapless narration, it helps to imagine the sector as a set of routes rather than as a flat sheet of land. To the west lay the Pakistani side and the approaches from Kasur. Near the border stood Karan, close enough to be a forward doorway into India. Farther to the east and northeast were roads leading toward Beaky Wind and deeper into Punjab. To the southeast lay the broader importance of Haraki, where major waters and crossings made the area operationally sensitive. Tanks did not need every acre of ground to be perfect. They needed enough usable routes to pass through, gather speed, and keep supplies following behind. That made the road network as important as the soil. The operational prize was not simply Karan itself. Capturing the town could matter, but the larger goal was what lay beyond it. If an armored force could break through and drive toward the Beas line, it might threaten Indian communications, force a major redeployment, and create panic out of proportion to the size of the initial breach. The Beas crossings and the Haraki area mattered because rivers and bridges are natural choke points. They connect movement, supply, and defense. An attacker who reaches them at speed can create a crisis for the defender. A defender who holds them or prevents the attacker from getting near them in usable condition can turn operational ambition into frustration. From India's perspective, Karan was therefore not just a vulnerable border town. It was part of a defensive problem that stretched backward into the depth of Punjab. If the sector collapsed quickly, Indian commanders might have to shift reserves, protect crossings, and worry about threats to important rear areas. The fall of a forward town is painful, but the loss of control over the roads behind it can be much worse. This is why the later withdrawal toward Asal-Uttar has to be understood carefully. Pulling back from Karan could look like defeat in the moment. Used properly, however, it could trade exposed ground for time, depth, and a better killing area. Pakistan's interest in the sector came from the same logic, seen from the other side. A bold armored plan needed a place where tanks could do more than support infantry in local fighting. It needed an axis where speed might create operational consequences. The Karan approach seemed to offer that possibility. Pakistan's armored forces, including formations equipped with American-built Patton tanks, appeared capable of delivering a powerful blow if they could break through and keep moving. But the phrase "keep moving" is the heart of the matter. A tank offensive does not succeed merely by crossing a border or seizing a town. It succeeds when reconnaissance, Infantry, artillery, engineers, fuel, recovery, and command decisions all preserve momentum. This is why Khem-Karan became a test of doctrine rather than a contest of machines alone. Pakistan had armored strength and a plan that promised a dramatic rupture. India had to find a way to blunt that strength with forces that were not arranged for a perfect armored duel. The Indian 4 Mountain Division, trained and organized for a very different country, suddenly found itself facing one of the largest armored threats of the war. That mismatch is central to the story. The defenders' problem was not how to admire the enemy's tanks or compare specifications in isolation. It was how to survive long enough to choose ground, build obstacles, coordinate anti-tank weapons, and bring armor and artillery into a coherent defense. The terrain around Khem-Karan rewarded careful preparation more than reckless speed. Sugarcane fields could hide defenders and restrict visibility. Villages could anchor resistance and break up lines of sight. Wet ground could make heavy vehicles struggle, especially when drivers left firm routes under pressure. Mines and artillery could turn hesitation into vulnerability. A tank commander advancing through such country had to worry about what he could not see, where the next firm crossing might be, whether infantry was close enough to clear resistance, and whether the route ahead was becoming a funnel. In open desert, distance can be the tank's friend. Around Khem-Karan, the landscape could shrink the battlefield until every field and track mattered. The defender's opportunity lay in turning that landscape into a weapon. A weaker or improvised defense can sometimes defeat a stronger armored force by denying it the kind of battle it wants. Instead of offering a clean, open fight, the defender can channel movement, conceal anti-tank guns and tanks, flood low ground, lay mines, and force the attacker to advance into uncertainty. That is not passive defense. It is an active reshaping of the battlefield. At Asal-Uttar, this would become the essence of the Indian response. The battle was not won by a single heroic act or a single type of tank. It was made possible by time gained, ground selected, obstacles created, and firepower organized around likely approaches.
Khem-Karan also helps explain why armored warfare had changed so much since the first tank battles of the First World War. Early tanks were imagined as tools for breaking trenches and crossing wire, but by 1965, the tank was part of a much larger operational system. It had radios, better mobility, stronger guns, and greater psychological presence, yet it remained dependent on all the older necessities of war: supply, reconnaissance, infantry support, artillery, engineers, and leadership. A modern tank force could move faster than its First World War ancestors, but that only made timing more unforgiving. When a fast formation slows, the entire plan can begin to unravel. Khem-Karan was important because it was exactly the kind of ground where this truth could be exposed.
The possible consequences of a Pakistani success should be taken seriously without exaggeration. A breakthrough through Khem-Karan would not automatically have ended the war or guaranteed a sweeping strategic victory. Armies still have reserves, roads become congested, bridges can be destroyed, and attackers can outrun their supply. But a major penetration toward Arracourt and the Bias crossings would have created a grave operational crisis for India. It could have threatened communications, forced withdrawals or redeployments, and changed the pressure on the wider Punjab front. That is why Asal-Uttar deserves its place among famous armored battles. It was not merely a dramatic pile of wrecked tanks. It was a defensive victory that prevented a dangerous armored plan from becoming a deeper rupture. The sector's importance also lay in the way it compressed strategic ambition into local decisions. A commander choosing whether to hold a village, flood a field, mine a track, or withdraw to a stronger line was not merely shaping a small tactical fight. Those choices affected whether Pakistan's armored thrust would find open road or resistance in depth. A bridge left standing, a road blocked, A reconnaissance failure, or a reserve committed at the right moment, could alter the tempo of the whole operation. This is the educational value of Chem Quran. It teaches that armored battles are often decided by the meeting of large plans and small places. The plan may aim at the beast, but the battle may turn in a sugarcane field. Chem Quran matters because it explains Asl-Uttar before the shooting reaches its peak. It shows why a small border town could become the entrance to an operational gamble, and why the ground beyond it mattered more than the town's size suggested. Pakistan saw the sector as a route to speed, depth, and decision. India came to see it as a place where speed could be trapped, depth could be bought with withdrawal, and decision could be denied. Without that geography, the battle becomes only a story of Pattons, Centurions, Shermans, and bravery. With it, Asl-Uttar becomes something more important, a lesson in how terrain, roads, water, time, and combined arms can decide the fate of an armored offensive.
You've been listening to Famous Tank Battles. These battles were never just about machines. They were about doctrine, terrain, firepower, logistics, and the hard problem of turning shock into victory. For more military history writing and books, visit militaryauthor.me. And for magazines, podcasts, and a massive archive of military photos and video, visit trackpads.com. Thanks for listening.